Hey, it's U3.C5.L5 simplifying expressio. Oh. Expression. Oh. I took off the N and the S. You're just going to have to imagine that it's expressions. Take it away, Miss Benoit.
Hi. Okay, we're going to be simplifying algebraic expressions today, as Mr. Romanovich kind of said. The target is I can simplify algebraic expressions by combining like terms. This is something we have been talking about, so this video will hopefully be brief because you've heard this all before, hopefully. Your target will be, you are going to create a two-term expression at the end using the variable x with a coefficient being added or subtracted to a constant. We will come back to this exact board. I'll bring this back at the end, but that's what you're going to do at the end of this lesson. Okay, so expressions, we know they're made up of terms. This expression has two terms. And our terms can be of two types. You can have a variable term or a constant. The variable term has a variable, and the constant is a number. So in our expression here, we have 4c minus c. What kind of terms do we have here? Variable terms is what we hope you said. You have two variable terms, both with c. We are going to subtract those. Now, what did we learn about combining like terms? We have to look at the parts of them. And since these are variable terms, there's something in front of the variable. Do you remember what that's called? Also starts with a c. It's not constant, but it's called a coefficient. And that coefficient tells us how many of those variables there are. So we have 4c, 4c's, minus c. Now, in front of this c, there isn't a coefficient. But what do we assume it to be? Do you remember? That would be a 1. And if you feel better, you can write that in. Some of you do that, some of you don't. So we have 4c minus 1c. Since they are like terms, they are from the same family, variable terms, we can subtract those. And 4c minus 1c would leave us with 3c. So we take a two-term expression and it's down to one term, still with a variable and still with the coefficient. Let's look at another one. We have 9y minus 4 plus 11y plus 7. How many terms are in this one? Hopefully you said 1, 2, 3, 4. This one has 4 terms. All right, and we want to combine like terms. We want to simplify. We have two types of terms. We have variable terms and constants. We've talked about this in our classes. I know Mr. Romanovich has and Mrs. Purdue has. You want to identify the kind of terms and mark them somehow. So let's say for the variable terms, we put a box around them. And the constants, we'll just underline for now. Okay. Before we start combining any like terms, look at our expression. We have subtraction and addition. When we have subtraction, what have we told you to do? Those 3 words? Add the opposite. That is correct. So we want you to rewrite this, adding the opposite. So it would be 9y. This minus becomes a plus, and the 4 becomes a negative. Plus 11y, that doesn't change. It's already addition. And plus 7. That doesn't change. It's already addition. All right, I'm going to move my boxes down here. And my underlines for the constants. So now you're ready to combine the like terms. If you would like to rewrite it with the like terms next to each other, you could do that. And what property allows us to do that? The commutative property. So 9y plus 11y plus negative 4 plus 7. 9y plus 11y is how many y? That would be 20y. And then negative 4 plus 7. We have one negative and one positive, so we actually subtract.
Sophia Zittel, please report to the main office. Sophia Zittel, please report to the main office.
7 minus 4 is 3. Which has a greater absolute value? That's 7, so it stays a plus. So our new expression becomes 20y plus 3. We went from 4 terms down to 2 terms. Can we add these two together? The answer should be a resounding no, because one is a variable term and one is a constant. So this is in simplest form. Let's look at one more. 2g minus 3 plus 11 minus 8g. How many terms do we have? We have 4. We have some subtraction, so let's go ahead and add the opposite. Well, we're going to rewrite it. 2g stays the same. Minus 3, that becomes a plus, negative 3. Plus 11 stays the same. Minus 8g, change the subtraction to a plus, and 8g to a negative 8g. All right, let's see what kind of terms we have. Our variable is g, and we have 2 of those. So I'm going to put a box around those. I have a negative 3 and a positive 11. Those are the constants. I'm going to underline those. I'm going to rewrite, putting my variable terms next to each other and my constants next to each other. Again, the commutative property lets you do that moving around. And then add them together. 2g plus a negative 8g, one is positive, one's negative. So you subtract them and keep the sign of the larger absolute value, which would be negative 8 in this case. 3 plus 11, I'm sorry, negative 3 plus 11. Again, you have one of each, so you're going to have to subtract them. 11 minus 3 is 8. And you keep the sign of the larger absolute value, which would be 11, so it's positive. Negative 6g plus 8. Again, 4 terms went to 2 terms. It's not always going to happen that way, but it did in these 2 problems. We can't combine the g term with the constant because they're not like terms. So this is it. All right, let's go back to that first board. Here's what we want you to come to class with tomorrow. Create a 2-term expression using the variable x. So please use x in your expression. The x has to have a coefficient, and it has to be added or subtracted to a constant. Good luck.